So this is, I hope that you're catching the theme that we really wanted to hit with the experience track here, which is it's what we're doing, even though the technology is new, the core of what we're doing is very, very old, and it's just connecting to folks. And I believe to round off this entire track, and again, to bring the message home, I'm very excited about this next guest, Salerno from Kennywood, which is just celebrated 118 years of being in business. So he's going to talk to you about how to stay innovative and how to keep that emotional connection throughout the century of being open. So, ladies and gentlemen, Salerno.
First of all, I understand I'm the last speaker. I'm delayed to see folks are still here. I understand the bus and shuttle's late for the Irish Bar. It's not going anywhere because I have the keys. So I do appreciate you hanging around. I'm very, very excited, by the way, to have the opportunity to speak to the members of TEA. And to be honest, I'll back the story up a little bit. When Cheryl called, she originally called one of my counterparts to speak, but unfortunately he wasn't available. And then he said, hey, would you mind making this presentation to TEA about Kennywood? I said, sure. I said, what's TEA? I said, is that kind of like the American Toaster Enthusiasts? And he said, yes, but they're a lot smarter. But yeah, and honestly, I have to thank Cheryl for extending the invitation for me to present Kennywood, because it introduced me not only to herself, but to the TEA organization. I think that Tony, who spoke earlier today, was talking about when we came through the business. I'll be honest, I came into the business in 1978 with Six Flags, with their big theme park in New Jersey, which I think probably services now over 4 million people in New York and Philadelphia area. And it's amazing to see, almost 30 some odd years later, how many things have changed and how many things have stayed the same. And so I've been very, very blessed to have the opportunity to work at Six Flags. I worked for Caesars World, the gaming company. There's a short stint for a number of years at Thornton Park of Water Kingdom, which is an amusement park, water park in the Allentown area. And then I had 8 years with Great Wolf Resorts, which is their concept is they have big hotels and they attach indoor water parks. So I'm not telling you that just from a resume standpoint. I'm only telling you because I've seen themed entertainment done very, very, very well. And the irony is that here we are. I come to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and there's this little small park called Kennywood. And it's fascinating. When I joined Kennywood about a year ago, and I was just blown away with the difference between the park compared to some of the other big parks that I work for. If you look at this is amazing when you look at this photo here. The Kennywood, just to back up on Kennywood, the genesis, how it started off with, Kennywood was like a lot of the old amusement parks that started off. They were trolley parks. This park here ended at the line, and the trolley line was actually owned by Andrew Carnegie. And he owned the trolley line, and what he wanted to do, they wanted to extend their use of the trolley system on the weekends. So that was the genesis of a lot of the old trolley parks that existed at the turn of the century. He owned it, and then basically sold it to a train station that owned it for about 7 years and realized they didn't want to be in the amusement park business. So they basically sold it, or leased it, to two families, the Hennekers and the Swiggins, which for over 100 years, up until just 6 years ago, owned the park. In fact, some of the old family members are still there. So there's a real rich tradition. I love this shot here with the young lady pulling up her skirt to avoid having the wheel from the tracks. And so that's how it came back. And the original land was owned by Mr. Kenny. That's the genesis of Kennywood. People were going to his land, his groves, going back to the Civil War for picnics. Families were going there. And then that's how when Mr. Carnegie, when he owned the land, he made the deal originally. So that's kind of the quick story on it. The park is in 118 years. And think about it. How many businesses today would withstand 2 world wars, the Great Depression, performance, the innovation, but more importantly, the emotional connection that the park has been able to do or make with the people in Pittsburgh and the southern Cleveland areas, for the most part, is where our business comes from. Okay. So, innovation in many forms. Rides and attractions, we'll see a little bit of that. We'll see that in a few moments. I'm going to show you some pretty neat roller coasters, sort of the birth of the roller coaster industry. But the industry also is innovative through technology. We'll touch on some of the early technology. You may find it kind of humorous today, but I think when you see some of the things, I think about the mobile devices that we have. What are the people 100 or 50 years from now, 118 years now, going to look at our mobile devices today? They'll probably have some fun with it. Again, some of the things that they were doing early on, today the big word we all talk about is sustainability and being smart and using our resources. It was amazing some of the things that Kennywood was doing years ago in that area. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And then finally, this is the really, really important, it's the community engagement and the overall connection that Kennywood has been able to make with its audience. Here we go, we'll talk about technology. But if you're not aware of it, oh, by the way, I meant to ask, if I show of hands, how many people have been to Kennywood? Great. So, folks, you understand the importance of the arrow. The Kennywood arrow is literally iconic. You can go any part of the world and find Kennywood signs. How many people moved out of the Pittsburgh area, and it's amazing, you'll go to bars in Florida and in Texas, and you walk in and you'll see a Kennywood sign. That was the arrow. And here I kind of laughed. This was kind of the precursor. That was used for directions. It's basically how the people go to the park. So in some respects, it was the precursor to the GPS system. So even way back when, with their arrows, Kennywood's was way out the front. Coaster innovation. If those who are familiar with the park, for a number of years, Kennywood was known as the coaster capital of the world. We had bunch of coasters are very, very, they're still important today. And here's one we're talking about. The original racer was built in 1910, okay? This was a twin track racing coaster designed by John Miller. Now, John Miller, if he was existing around today, he passed away in 1941, originally hailed from Illinois, and he was really responsible for designing coasters early on. And if he was around today, he would be a member of TEA. He was a visionary, he was an entrepreneur, and he was a businessman, and basically really pioneered a lot of the coaster industry. This one, coaster that you see up here is actually what they call side friction. And real quickly, what the side friction coasters was basically you had your a wheel on a rail, and then you had like a trowel or plates that another wheel would be on. Okay, and that's basically what kept the coaster on the track. Anybody see any problems with that? Does it seem like it's safest? Now, there was a lot of incidents, a lot of times the coaster literally came off the track. And then what happened was, the same John Miller, 10 years later, basically designed new technology. Here we're talking about technology. And what he designed was what they call the upstop wheels, okay, or it was also called under friction and or under track. And basically what that was, was a wheel on the top, wheels on the side, and one on the trough for the track. But they also, the big thing was they put a wheel underneath the track. What do you think happened when you were able to put another wheel underneath the track? You get a lot more security, a lot more stability, and also that's when you start having the coaster go up and down with the dips, okay? And the stopping mechanisms were different. Oh, by the way, going back to the side friction coaster, I believe there's 7 of them still left in the world. Most of them are in Europe, but there is one left in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and a amusement park there. And back in those days, they would actually use a brake wheel. So you'll see in the old side friction coasters today, even the ones that do exist, and the one that they do have here in the States, in Altoona, Pennsylvania, is the oldest in the world still. John Miller, he passed away in 1941, got involved with the Pennsylvania a toboggan company back in the 20s. And again, today would be literally known as really the father of the modern coaster. I mean, all the high-tech coasters, high-speed coasters we see today, a lot of it goes back to the original technology that he put forth. This is really, really pretty cool. I'm hoping I'm glad to share this with you. This is the Rabbit back in the early 1920s. Again, side friction coaster. And what I was thinking, when I look at this, or you look at it now, think about this. This wasn't, they didn't have GoPros back in those days. So I'm amazed, whoever, people ask, well, do you think the person held the camera manually or just strapped down? But this footage is really, really incredible. I love the guys on the side there. I'm sure they're with the government, the safety inspectors. Warning. Is that neat? Great view of some of the rest of the park too. I love the guys with the ties, some straw hats. Okay, so we'll talk about continuing ride innovation. Here, this is the ride. In 1924, we had the Pippin coaster was built, and then in 1968, the Pippin coaster was rebuilt and retrofitted and renamed the Thunderbolt. And again, I want to mention that because the innovation and the intelligence and the sustainability of the people in Kennywood back in those days to be smart enough not to just scrap an entire ride, but to reuse it and then to relaunch it, like a lot of parks do today. I mean, today it's not unusual for parks, as you well know, to relocate rides from one park to another to get value out of them. And then finally, in 1991, the tunnel, what you see there, this is the metal coaster called the Steel Phantom. And what we did is we actually took out one of the bits, a section of the coaster, and then ran the Steel Phantom through the Thunderbolt. So again, the point being there is that they're very creative in the way they design the rides. Other innovations, this may sound crazy, but this was the voice of Kennywood calling you to a delightful day. This was actually installed in 1929 to broadcast park music and announce entertainment. Anybody have any thoughts on how they made announcements prior to that? How about a megaphone? Right? Here, step right up. See, you're absolutely right, Bill Bullhorn. So Kennywood, 1929 rather, to have broadcast in the park. This was basically a very cutting-edge system that was introduced. Kitty Life. The uniqueness about this photo here, this was actually taken from a postcard, I think around 1943. And what's unique about this was the first time any park gathered all its kiddie rides in one area. And that was the unique thing, and it was moved there in 1927. And at some point before Mr. Disney opened his park in California, he did make a visit here to Pittsburgh and actually did visit Kennywood. So I laugh, you say it's a small world after all, and the degrees of separation. So who knows how much influence Walt took come away from the park. But he was there, and I tried to get some absolute proof on that. But unfortunately, I work with a gentleman from the Pittsburgh Historical Museum, and he was trying to track it down, but unfortunately couldn't get it for me. Again, this is the new area, a new theme area that's called Lost Kennywood. In 1995, this was introduced. It was again modeled after the turn of the century parks, and it actually was built in an area. Again, for the folks in Pittsburgh here are aware, Kennywood had a huge pool that debuted back in the 1920s and 30s. Was around for the longest time, and I believe the capacity of the pool was somewhere around 3,000 people. It was that area where Lost Kennywood went into, and the entry is a reproduction of Luna Park, which was a small park here in Pittsburgh that existed from 1905 to 1909. A gentleman named Ingersoll had it, and he built another one in Cleveland. Unfortunately, this park only lasted 5 years because there was a competition and basically lost out to Kennywood. So I don't know if the entry is kind of a tribute to the Luna or kind of shot that we put them out of business. I don't know. But, so that's Lost Kennywood. Preservation, we talk about, this is the Ark. And the Ark was built in 1936 as a dark ride walkthrough, which type of attraction. And it was taken down and rebuilt from scratch in 1996. And just recently, this is the last park that's that exists. And just 2 weeks ago at the Amusement business, credited the Golden Ticket Awards, Kennywood's Ark cited it for being the best walkthrough attraction, funhouse attraction. So we were real excited about that. 5 minutes, jeez. Oops. What happened? All right. Investment, this is the Turnpike ride, which was allowed again, it's a very, very popular ride. It's no longer in operation. This debuted in the 1960s when all the other parks were starting to close down. Kennywood made a pretty concerted effort to invest in the car. It originally featured 22 gasoline cars. The ride was taken out of commission and is now still housed at the park. And we still get a lot of the local folks who are still wanting to bring it back. Technology and innovation. The point here is that it's great to have the technology. It was so exciting that when I saw earlier presentations, whether it be robots or virtual reality, whatever, that at the end of the day, the important thing is that Kennywood's been so strong is that its ability to create deep emotional connections with the people. And like the many of the old steel mills, Kennywood involved significant what I call C's, SATEs, or emotional experiences. In the sense that Kennywood was the first visit to the park of mom and dad. For a teenager, it was an opportunity to get away from when you got to be a certain age, you got to ride the rides by yourself. So there was a great sense of independence. People here from the local community realized that we do a tremendous amount of school business. And when the kids would come, they would have their ride buddies. And then they would get their special his and hers or matching uniforms. People used to wear. So there was a great sense of tradition. And again, like I said, the first independent by riding with the parents. It also could be a first kiss in the tunnel of love or the old mill. And many times, for many people in Pittsburgh, Kennywood represented an opportunity for their first job. So one of the things that struck me when I came here, the park runs through the DNA. There's, like I said, it's a real great connection with the people. And you're going to see this emotional connection in several areas. If you go onto our postings on the website, people talk about the great experience that they had. And here's an 82-year-old man who discovers the meaning of life after riding a roller coaster 5,000 times. This is Vic Clinton. And he says the key to long and meaningful life is to find something you love as much as riding coasters. Okay? So I don't know if that's true. I mean, there's other ways of finding meaning in life, but one of the things that touched me, again, I've been in this business a long time, worked at different great brands, met wonderful people, and again, you folks, the younger guys at TEA, like I said, I wish it's been 1978, how long it's been, 30 some odd years, and it's just been such a fabulous ride, literally, part of the tunnel coaster. Met so many great people, and to see the things that you guys are, talking about doing with the mobile devices, personalization, and driving really initiatives that are going to build loyalty with your customers is really, really incredible. But one of the things that touched me most of all the things that in the business is this here. We have a gentleman, Mr. Jay Mitlow. And Jay Mitlow is a season pass holder. He's been coming to Kennywood all his life. And last year, right before our park opened up in May, he posted and sent to Kennywood it's an open letter. The letter goes on and on. I couldn't put it all on the screen for you, but what I want to do is do a few things. He had a little boy that was about 6 years of age who had cancer and was passing away. And on his little day, it was so sad, and he said to the father said, we're going to take you to Disney. And the son said, I don't want to go to Disney, I want to go to Kennywood. And the father, even on the deathbed, when the child was dying, the last memories that he had were of Kennywood. So I'm thinking to myself, and reading this says, who makes that type of connection today? So each one of you, of your staff, had a hand in giving a kid with terminal cancer and his family a day of rest, a day of joy, a day of memories, which we all have, which are all we have of it now, that will last many a lifetime. He says, thank you, Kennywood. You have a greater impact on the lives of those who walk through that tunnel than you ever know. So that's the point. The takeaway was what you do with your technology and stuff like that. At the end of the day, it still comes back to people and being able to make those connections, okay? And there's such great opportunities. And you know, keep things like this, the impact of things that you do on people's business or on their lives is really, really important. And that's why, I mean, if anybody asked me to do all over again, I would never change anything. It's been a great industry. And I wish all you guys really great luck as you go forward. Thank you.